Hey, everybody. It's nice to be here. This is my first LinkedIn Live ever, and I'm kind of getting my bearings here. So, welcome. I'm just going to kind of go forth. I hope this becomes interactive, but the hope for this format is that every week I'm going to show up here and we're going to do a basic demo of Grantable and its core features. This will be a place where we can also preview or launch some really cool specific features, and we'll dive deep into those. But what I'm hoping for is people to come that are interested, check out what we're doing here, bring your actual questions, your real scenarios, and then even more generally speaking, to get into a Q&A, a really kind of an open dialogue about what agentic AI is capable of these days. I think there's a gap forming in the sector, and I'm really keen on trying to make that something that we can begin to close. So with that, I'm going to get going, and I'm hoping that people will interact and chime in if they want. I'm happy to bring people on stage as well if people aren't too shy about that. Let's see, show comments on stage. Cool. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so we're going to dive right in here. So firstly, welcome. This is a Grantable account that you see on your screen, hopefully. And what I'm going to do is start out with my best pro tip that I have, which is when you get stuck with this version of Grantable, you can ask Grantable itself for help. And this builds on another theme that I'm really trying to coach my students about, which is kind of meta prompting. So we came from a stage of AI interaction where everybody started to try to remember all their best prompts and maybe created lists or a bank of prompts that you could copy and paste into your AI. And that's fine, that you can have that and keep that if you want. But what I am now encouraging people to do is flip it around, and instead of trying to remember specific prompts, try to remember one rule, which is to ask the AI what it thinks, how it would go about solving a problem. So if you wanted to work on a letter of interest for a funder, instead of remembering a specific prompt that you like or that you saw somewhere on LinkedIn and you paste in, just ask Grantable, hey, I need to work on a letter of interest for this particular funder. How should we go about it? And then push send and then see what it says. And then what you can do is what's happening is that Grantable is actually creating a really great prompt for you. And then you get to react to that and tell it to change what you want. And then finally, when you're satisfied, hit go. So that's kind of the first thing to start out with is ask questions, ask Grantable to help you, ask it about anything involved in the software. So that's kind of the start here. Okay, let's dive in. So this is a Grantable account. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to upload what would be 3 sample grant applications. So this would be 3 existing grant applications or annual reports, something that has a lot of great written content about the organization that's applying for grants. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say use your, and then I'm going to click the / key. This brings up your skills. So this is another core concept to keep track of. Skills are another way where you don't have to remember big, long prompts. Skills are kind of stored prompts or processes. They're instructions that the AI can follow, and they're really, really detailed. So we'll show you that in a second. I'm going to choose the boilerplate skill. Use your boilerplate skill to create a master grant template. Boilerplate. You don't even have to say all that stuff. I'm just kind of giving you context. So I'm going to say go. And then while we watch what happens here, let's explain what's happening. So I just uploaded 3 docx Word document files, and I invoked a skill. And then what you see happening on the screen here is the first thing is Grantable's thinking. It's checking in with itself and confirming what I want it to do. Then it's reading the boilerplate skill. And let's just look at that. So here in the left side menu are your boilerplates or all of your skills. And let's go down to the boilerplate one and then click open the skill. So what you see here now is the actual document that Grantable is utilizing. These are the instructions it's following. So it knows what a boilerplate is. It knows how to create and name this file and where to put it. It knows what should go in it and how to produce this document. And then it's got some rules. Now, the thing I want to call out about skills is when you create a Grantable account, you get these skills and then you can change them. So if you wanted to call this a master template skill, you could just call it master grant template. That's fine. You can change anything in this document. You can add extra sections. You can change how it's created. You can add extra rules. We give you this just to get started. This is just helps you understand what a skill is. One more thing I'll show you here before we look at the result is there's a boilerplate template. So what this is it tells the AI what the format should look like so that when you might have noticed that when you ask AI for things, sometimes it produces different results even with the same prompt. And that's part of AI's function. But you can actually tell it, I want one specific format every single time. And then it'll do that. So what this boilerplate skill does is it not only tells the AI the instructions for how to create the document, it actually references this template so that the output will look a certain way every single time. So let's go back here. You'll see, so it read the skill, it looked at the template, it read the 3 source documents I gave it, and then it started to operate. And then look at this tile that got created. It's basically telling you, hey, I made this document, and you can click that open. And what you see here is just in the same format as this template, it's now created a master boilerplate document that's fused together the information from those 3 source documents into this one. And then it tells you where the document is. So over here, it's in your library folder. This is the document. And then it gives you a little preview. And then it kind of tells you, hey, here's what you might be able to do with that next. So something else that's now emerged here is something we're very proud of at Grantable, which is the simplicity of our interface. Now, traditionally, software has had a lot of different screens and different pop-ups and things that you have to remember. For Grantable, it's always going to look mostly like this. There's your navigation on the left, there's your chat in the center, and then whatever you're working on, your context in the right side. And you can see everything that we've gone through, the boilerplate folder, the skill, the template, and this new document that we created are all just right here. They're just tabs like a browser. And you can close them if you want to get them out of the way, or they're right here for you to work on. And once again, just to highlight, this is an editable document. So you can add to this, you can change it however you like, you can highlight it and have the AI work on different sections of it. You can comment on it. So it's a really, really flexible interface. And we're really happy with how it's being utilized by a lot of folks right now. All right, so let's work on another little pro tip, a best practice, which is some of you may have experienced when you use AI, it starts to slow down after your chats get long. And that's because when you work with AI, it's important to keep in mind what your context window contains. So when you talk to AI, as you keep talking to it, it's really taking into account your whole conversation history. And so as the conversation gets longer, it takes more and more processing to give you a response. So it's a best practice to just create new chats, and it also makes it easier to find stuff. So let's create a new chat, and it doesn't cost you anything. It's like a workspace, a blank slate. So now what I want to do is show you how to work on a grant application. So let's use the new boilerplate document that we just created, this thing here. So let's say, so I'm going to upload a blank grant application. So this would be if the funder lets you download the docx with all the application questions. So here, the Empowering Communities Fund, right there. And then I'm going to say so we'll do the skill command again, / grant writing skill. And this time I'm going to do the @ symbol. And the @ symbol in Grantable allows you to point the AI at resources. You can point it at folders, you can point it at documents. Sometimes in commenting, you can call out people. So I'm going to say @ and then I'm going to start typing boilerplate. And then you see it starts to search here. And I'll click that file. And that's now pointing the AI at this document that we just created here. So I'm going to say use the @ boilerplate and let's say the @ library as well as source materials. That way it will look at the boilerplate specifically. Actually, the boilerplate's in the library. So it'll really look at everything in this library for information to use for this grant application. So I'm going to click go. Now, once again, what we're seeing here is the AI is going to think for a second and confirm with itself, what are we asking it to do? Then it's going to load those skills. It's going to read all the content that I've given it. And then this time it's going to do something different, which it knows is to ask me some questions. We are at Grantable, we are not a easy button kind of company that thinks, oh, all you need to do is throw a bunch of stuff into an AI and say, go, and it'll write you a great grant application. Grant pros know that that's not how it works. And so what it's asking me here is some questions. So which program do you want this grant application to focus on? So you can see it's identified all the programs that are key to us, and you can just answer them right here. So let's say we're going to go with Green Next. We're going to ask for $50,000 to $100,000. Actually, let's say I'll show you. You can actually do a custom amount. So I'm going to say we're going to go $80,000, and then we're going to so it's willing to draft everything for you, but I recommend let's go section by section. So we've added all of that information here, and it's now going to work. So the first thing it did was it created a folder. So you see this tile again that came up, but this time instead of created in a document, it's saying it created a folder. So this is to help you keep track of all the different functions that AI is doing on your behalf. One thing that I'm trying to help people understand is that AI has really taken a few steps forward, few big steps forward. It's not just a talker now, it's a doer. So what it just did was it created a folder in your applications folder. So within applications, it created a folder that's well named. It's got the year, the funder, and then within that folder, it's now organizing all the documents that you're going to have as part of this work package. So Grant Pros probably do this themselves. So you've got a new funder, you have an organization style or methodology in your Google Drive or wherever you currently do it. You usually create a folder, maybe by years, and then all the stuff you're working on goes in that folder. And so this AI in Grantable is doing the same thing. So it's created a folder for this application. It's got a document that it created just for the guidelines so that it can kind of keep those clean. It's now created a checklist as well, based on what's in the RFP. And then it's created a draft. So let's look in that folder. So if I click on the folder, CIAF 2026, you can see all the contents here. So let's click into the application draft. So what you can see here is it has started to work on Green Next, 80K. It is going through and answering everything it can in the easy stuff, the opener. And then it started working on the application, but you can see it's flagging things where it needs your input. And then what you can see too is it's actually checking that stuff off in the checklist. So it's going faster than I can even talk. So it's working through these things, and here is your whole checklist that was created from the RFP. And you can see when I hover over one of these items, if you click help me, it'll point the AI to that task and you'll start working on that together. So you can close that. But what it'll do each time is it gives you the overview of what just happened and then kind of prompts you to figure out what to do next. So it's really kind of an amazing new way to work on grants where the AI gets the whole project set up for you. And then once again, you can come in here. You're supposed to read over all of this stuff and make sure it feels right. If you want to modify something, you can highlight and say add selection to chat and say shorten this by about half. And then what it'll do is it'll work on that section and compress it down. You can also edit things manually. And so let's think about that for a second. If you were to put in, like, this phone number is probably not something that you would want to have AI, do necessarily. That's kind of a waste of tokens. If you know the phone number, just write it in here, right? So you can just delete it, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oops. Right? 7890, right? So once you put in the phone number, by the way, that will be in your account and AI will probably be smart enough to pull that from now on. Same thing with email, addresses, all that stuff. And if you ever want to search for things, you can just click this search. And then again, that just opens a tab here. But if you started typing phone, for example, it would come up with all the times in your account where the phone number pops up, or the name or the email or anything else that you're working on. So just to highlight that, typing in makes a lot, just sometimes it's easier to do that. Okay, so you can see here now that the project summary got squished down by half. So that's just to circle back how you can have AI help you work on the drafts as well. And then you can see all of these placeholder sections. So that's kind of how you can work on a grant application in Grantable. And then let's move on to prospecting. This is something that I think a lot of people struggle with, or they spend a lot of time working on. So I just created a new chat. What I'm also going to do is just show you here. Let's clear out our workspace. So clean that up, and then let's go with prospecting. So this time I'm going to, let's say I'm going to use my / prospecting skill to find grant funding for organizations matching my and then let's do the boilerplate again. So the concept we're using here would be like imagine you're hiring somebody to work on grant prospecting for you, and you gave them the boilerplate document so that they have an idea of what your organization does. So I'm giving the AI the boilerplate to show what are we looking for? Where do we operate? What programs do we implement? All that kind of stuff. So once again, you're probably familiar with this now. It's thinking, it's grabbing the skill. Now let's look at the prospecting skill. Actually, this one I'm pretty proud of because I worked on this a lot. Prospecting, for those of you that know, is a very intense process. It usually takes several weeks to really start from scratch because you need to learn the organization. And then usually in the past, it's meant a broad search across different databases, data sets, Googling, and then you kind of create these waves of reconnaissance. You create a first pass and you're plopping all that stuff into a spreadsheet, and then you go back through, and so you have to read every single profile and then check all of the funder websites and make manual notes and lots of copy pasting going on. All of this whole thing from step 0 all the way to when you have the actual RFP document and you want to check its alignment, the go, no goes, the deal breakers, all that stuff. If you want to estimate the time it would take, if you want to have strategic recommendations for how your programs align with a given funder's priorities, it can do all of this. So if you see this prospecting skill, it's pretty massive, and it will intelligently figure out and evolve over time based on how much work you've done with it. So this is a blank account. So once again, it's kind of asking, what do you want to prospect for? So let's try STEM career pathways this time. Let's do grants between 25 and 75. We'll focus just on private foundations. And my fictional organization is Portland, Oregon based. So let's just keep it, for the sake of not wasting tokens, we'll limit it down. So of course, it's now going to go off and start searching. This skill, maybe more than any other one, hides how much work is being done on the back end. So right now, as I'm talking to you, as the seconds go by, this is like days worth of grants database prospecting. So where you would have gone and put in keywords and set filters in grants databases, that's happening right here. Look at all of this. So what just happened is Grantable, we built our own proprietary database that is meant for AI to read. It's called Grant Graph. And I won't go into the technical details to bore you, but it's millions of different connections and profiles. And what it's doing is it's kind of creating a fingerprint or a pattern of this Elevate Youth Collective organization. So it's kind of saying, what's the shape of this organization? All the filters that you would have set manually in the past, it's doing that in seconds, in fractions of a second. So if you look at this, all the different keywords, all the different search vectors that it's going through, all the different places. And so in just fractions of a second, it's looking at all these other organizations that are similar to Elevate Youth Collective, and then mapping to where those funders, who has funded those organizations. Then it's building a list of prime suspects. Then it's searching online. So you can see here's a bunch of websites that are getting searched to bring in corroborating data. So one of the things that we've heard from grant professionals is if you see a lead in a database, you don't know how good it is. So you have to go and check their website and kind of get a vibe. Is this a live funder? Are they actually giving? Grantable's doing that here automatically, and it's creating a signal, a signal for you to see, do we have corroborating sources? Is it one just, is it, or is it kind of a low quality signal? And it's going to weed those out for you. So all the data is coming in, it starts ingesting it, and then just as before, what it does is it creates a folder. So similar to the application process, but this time for prospecting, it creates a folder for you, and then it's populating it with funder briefs. So we have the Meyer Memorial Trust. This is a real funder, and what it does is it writes this little brief for you. It explains why the funder is a match. It's telling you the signal strength. So again, it corroborated the database ping with real internet-based research. It's giving you key points, flagging some concerns for you, community reputation. So all of this stuff happening, in minutes here as we're speaking. And then similar to the checklist, it creates a little table for you to review these prospects. And so what we would recommend is that you're going one by one, you're reading it. You can continue to ask for more information, by the way. So you could say, tell me how PG&E Foundation has done X, Y, or Z in the last few years. You can keep asking for more information. You can give it more information and have it integrate that into the reports. But basically, it's helping you to go forward and take those first several days of prospecting headache out of the way. And then as you go through, you can say, yes, I like this. Or if you say, no, this isn't a good fit, it's going to ask you, tell us why it's not a good fit. And then the next time it will get smarter. So you can say, well, they don't fund in the county where we operate. So we need to look elsewhere for something else. But that's how you would begin prospecting. And then just to call it out, if you then want to reach out to one of these leads, you could say, help me draft a letter of introduction to at PG&E Foundation. So what I just did was I asked it to draft a letter of introduction, and then I pointed it to the PG&E Foundation. And then, it's asking me about this. Let's just say already have a relationship with Meyer. So what it's doing now is it's drafting the documents for me. Okay, so we might have a little bug here. I'm seeing something happening. That's what doing it live is all about. So I'm just going to quickly reset and see if that sorts things out. Hopefully it did. So we'll work on that and we'll follow up. But hopefully my letter of interest, my letter of introduction will show up here pretty soon. I think it will because it's created this folder here. So I think it's working on that. But we're approaching the end of time here. I'm not seeing any comments here. So hopefully that's not because you couldn't hear me or something. This was a technical first run through. Next time, here we go. Let me see, already have a relationship. Oh yeah, here we go. So I have the letter of introduction. So we didn't really glitch. We just had some stuff on the front end that looked a little funny, but we'll get that sorted out. Here's the PG&E letter of interest based on the brief and the boilerplate. It intelligently assembled all of that stuff. So you can see that's how easy it is to flow between different kinds of content. So today in Grantable, we covered asking Grantable for help on how to use it. We covered using skills and how to access the different files and formats. You can see that this whole 30 minutes we were working in one interface where you can easily see the content you're working on, your chats, all the content here. Next time, I know we're at 30 minutes. Next time we'll go into how you can automate processes with your schedule and the inbox feature, which is an actual email inbox that Grantable operates. So you can forward emails to Grantable and it can ingest them. You can subscribe Grantable to different funder newsletters and have it automatically monitor them for funding opportunities, all kinds of really cool stuff. Thank you so much for those of you who tuned in today to the first Grantable weekly office hours and AMA. Hopefully this will build over time. We'll get more people showing up, more people asking questions. I'm Philip Deng, co-founder and CEO of Grantable. We'll see you next week. Thank you so much.